Hello everyone, and welcome to another of Mrs. Kiely's art tutorial videos. In this video, we're going to look at grid art and how artists can use this artistic technique to enlarge a visual reference. The visual reference that we'll be enlarging is the Athena of Giustiniani. So what I'm doing right now is I'm putting a grid over top of my visual reference, and I'm using the centimeters on the ruler to do this. I wanted the smaller boxes because my image is pretty small, and so I'll need a lot of little boxes to help me work with this. So across the top I have 7.1 centimeters, and down the side I have 13 centimeters long. Always measure your artwork on both sides, on all four sides of the image. That way you will ensure getting a straight line. If you just measure down one side and then hope that you're holding the ruler straight, you're going to have a bad time, and most likely your lines are going to be a little crooked. Since we're enlarging our artwork here, we're going to multiply the length and width of our visual reference by 2. That will make our artwork twice the size of our visual reference. That gives us 14.2 by 26 centimeters. What I'm doing here is I've measured the width and length of the paper that I'm working on. My artwork paper is just a regular 8.5 by 11 inch paper, but in centimeters it's 21.5 by 28. So I subtracted the width of my artwork, which is 14.2, from the width of the paper, 21.5. That gave me 7.3 centimeters. I divided that by 2, which gave me a total of 3.65. That's what my two side border widths are going to be. Because it's a tall rectangular piece of artwork, my side borders are going to be wider than my top and bottom borders. To get the top and bottom borders, I took the height of the paper, 28 centimeters, subtracted the height of my artwork, 26 centimeters, which gave me a total of 2. Divide that by 2, and that gives you 1 centimeter on each side. So now I know where to place my artwork on the 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper, and hopefully everything goes smoothly from there. If you're mathematically challenged, regardless of your numeracy skills, this is one that you really need to wrap your heads around when it comes to grid art, this maintaining the ratio of the boxes and making sure that everything's perfect. Because if you don't get those boxes bang on correct, then your artwork's going to be warped and skewed. So the worst part is over. Yay, we figured out how big our artwork's going to be and exactly where to center it on the page. Now I'm going to put an enlarged grid over top of my art. And instead of just going 1 by 1 centimeter, because I've enlarged it by 2, I'm going 2 by 2 centimeters. And don't forget, the trick to getting a straight line is to measure twice and connecting those 2 points. It's super important.
What are you doing? Yeah? Thank you. Okay. You leave my eraser alone. What are you doing? That's my eraser. Don't do it. Oh, dude. Not cool.
Okay, now that Calvin's gone, let's get back to work. I recommend that you double check before you start your art that your width and length of your artwork actually matches the measurements. You may have to tweak a few lines here and there, so no worries. Just make sure that when you're drawing that grid, you keep your pencil strokes and your pencil markings pretty light. You don't need to bear down too hard and make dark lines, because later on, wherever there's high value, wherever there's light parts in the artwork, you're going to have to race those grid lines up. So you're going to make more work for yourself if you push really hard. I like using a mechanical pencil for this because it keeps its sharpness, and it's just a little easier. So I mark off the top with A, B, C, D, and the sides down with 1, 2, 3s, and I do the same thing for the art. It just, keeps yourself organized, keep yourself, where your place is. And another good tip and trick, keep a scrap piece of paper underneath your drawing hand so that pad of your hand doesn't smudge the graphite around. Lots of artists approach grid art in different ways. Some people like to start in box A1 and they go methodically box by box in a row. Other people like to do some of the contour drawings like I'm doing right here, get the subject matter down, figure out where you're going to be, and then go back. So I kind of waffle between the two different methods where I'll do the contour drawing, get the gist of the subject matter down, and then do a little bit of the background, and then come back and do some fine details like the helmet here. So it's really up to you how you want to do this. Sometimes I needed a break from the fine details and just had fun filling in the dark spaces. The goal of this grid art and graphite pencil exercise is to match the value of your artwork to the visual reference. So the darkest thing in this image was Athena's spear, and I used an 8B pencil for that, my darkest pencil, and then the next darkest area was the background, of course. So I used a 6B for that, and I was really mindful of my pencil strokes, making sure that you couldn't really see them, that I blended them in well. In this particular project, I don't use any blending sticks because in my classes, this is a junior project and they shouldn't be using blending sticks. So this is all just purely pencil and the pressure on the graphite, keeping it light or dark. So here's a fun Greek mythology fact. Hera was not Zeus's first wife. Zeus, the big primary god in Greek mythology, happened to have another wife, and her name was Metis. However, Zeus heard this prophecy that his firstborn son would usurp him, and so he wasn't going to have that. And when Metis finally conceived a child by him, he swallowed her up. But shortly after having done that, Zeus came down with the worst headache ever. I'm talking like serious migraine here. And he asked Hephaestus to split his head open because it was such a splitting headache. And out popped Athena, not a baby, but a full-grown woman and fully clothed in armor. Athena became Zeus's favorite daughter, and he named her the goddess of wisdom, craft, and war. Not like her brother Ares, who was the bloodlust god of war, but she was more about the strategy side of war. She represented knowledge, purity, the arts, crafts, learning, justice, and wisdom. She represents intelligence, humility, consciousness, cosmic knowledge, creativity, in education, enlightenment, eloquence, and power. Athena had a particular soft spot for those mythological heroes such as Ulysses and Hercules, especially for Perseus, who she sent to go slay Medusa, the Gorgon. Ironically, Medusa, the one with the snake hair who could turn people into stone, well, it was Athena who turned her into this monster in the first place. It was a form of punishment for Medusa, who had, let's say, relations with Poseidon in Athena's sacred temple. The symbol of the snake is often associated with Athena, though most commonly we know her symbol to be the owl, that classic representation of wisdom and knowledge and education. But the snake also is a big feature. Why is that? Well, there's lots of stories that have symbolic snakes associated with Athena. Take Medusa, for example. That snake hair was a pretty nasty punishment. But there's some positive stories about snakes and Athena as well. We have Erichthonius, who was a legendary king of ancient Athens, and according to some myths, he was raised by Athena. The snake is his symbol, and it's faithfully coiled around Athena's feet in this sculpture. Erichthonius was so devout to his goddess that he founded the Panathenaic festival in her honor. The ancient Greeks dedicated their city, Athens, to Athena and built a temple in her honor on the Acropolis, the highest point in the city. The Parthenon is the greatest example of classical Greek architecture. This statue was discovered in the 17th century and is a Roman marble copy. The original was made by the Greeks in the late 5th, early 4th century BCE. The sculpture was most likely a holy statue which people venerated or prayed to. So these are the last few details of my grid drawing of Athena. Just clean up the numbers and the letters around the borders to give it a nice clean white edge and sign it. And there you have it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave your questions, comments, or compliments in the box below. Please click on like and share if you found this video at all helpful. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. There'll be more videos where this came from. And thanks for watching.